To start, I will be asking you guys a question. First, what do you think of when I ask you about food waste?
Throwing away leftovers.
And I think the majority of the population would probably agree with you. However, what if I told you that there's another type of food waste that is much more impactful and it is much more pressing of an issue to humanity today? Hello, my name is Kevin Shi, and I'm a senior at Ober D. Tompkins High School. My mentor is Professor Yuqing Zhang, who is an Associate Professor of Agricultural Economics at the University of Kentucky. And today, I'll be doing my presentation on AgriDiet, a plan to minimize agricultural waste. In October of last year, the United Nations released a climate report stating that if we do not drastically decrease our environmental impact within the next 12 years, there will be catastrophic impacts because of this climate change. A month later, the United States released a report stating that the economy capacity could be reduced by as much as 10% by the end of the century if we do not drastically decrease our fossil fuel emissions. As you can see in this chart, the level of carbon dioxide fluctuates a lot throughout history, going from high to low or low to high. However, in the past 50 years, there has been a noticeable drastic increase in the amount of carbon dioxide emissions. A lot of this is because of increased fossil fuel emissions in the world. While humans have done some things to try to combat this, such as carpooling and riding bikes, there is still much to be done, and there's another source of pollution that is currently not being addressed. I was inspired to do this project because of a TED Talk I watched in my environmental science class. In that TED Talk, the presenter said that agricultural waste is the single largest contributor to fossil fuel emissions in the world, and livestock itself contributes up to 18% of all global fossil fuel emissions. I had no idea about this, and I felt like most people also felt the same way. For example, when I asked the audience about food waste earlier, they responded with throwing away leftovers. That is how I would have responded as well before this project. But my plan is to try to raise awareness about this very impactful source of greenhouse gas emissions. There are several existing solutions. For example, CNN has a flexitarian diet that is aimed to help people reduce the amount of meat they eat in their diets. It's very good in the details it includes on exactly what foods to eat to try to achieve this effect. However, it is too specific in its scope, and I feel like that it is inadequate because of this. The Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics has its own sustainable eating plan that includes more broader topics such as reducing meat and also like growing your own food in your backyard. However, it provides no facts and figures to help users who follow this plan to quantify the impact that they are having, which could possibly discourage them when they feel like they are following the plan and they don't know the impact, making them feel like they aren't having that great of an impact. Finally, the Harvard School of Public Health has its 5 tips for sustainable eating, including varying the kinds of meat to include more fish protein and things like that. However, like the first 2, it is inadequate because it is not great enough in its scope, and it also does not include details and facts and figures to help users be more encouraged to see the amount of impact they're having by following the plan. That brings me to my solution, a website that can calculate for users the exact impact that they're having in terms of carbon dioxide emission reduction by following this plan. My plan has 3 aspects: organic agriculture, eating more local food, and reducing the amount of meat in their diet. On my website, each section has a specific section that would give details on how they can achieve this step. Now I will give you a demo of my website. As you can see, could you put the camera a little closer? Could you move the camera a little closer? As you can see, I have 3 specific sections for my plan. The first is local food, and I have a few bullet points stating facts on the impact that you could reduce, and then some ways to follow the local food section. Then I have a reducing meat in diets. I have some facts such as a quarter pound of meat uses the same amount of fossil fuels as driving a car 20 miles, and I also at the end have ways that you could try to achieve this part of the plan, such as eating more plant protein like tofu, beans, or potatoes a few days a week. Finally, my last section is organic food, and I have statistics such as organic foods use an average of 30% less fossil fuel than conventional agriculture, and then I advocate for things like buying more organic foods to try to reduce the diet. At the very end, I have an agricultural waste calculator. As you can see here, it asks for the number of local foods eaten per meal, and then also number of vegetarian meals eaten and organic product consumed in, say, like a week. You would enter the amount of, say, vegetarian meals, and if you had, say you only had two vegetarian meals that week, it would tell you that you reduced the amount of carbon dioxide from not eating meat by 58.66 kilograms. Once you enter in all the facts for your for each say, like for example here I have number of local food eaten meals at 3, number of vegetarian meals at 2, and number of organic food product only meals at 3, then it would calculate each one. As you can see here, local food actually has the greatest impact by far, and then it would give you the total here, which would a total carbon dioxide reduction in kilograms for that week, which would be 2,778 kilograms in carbon dioxide reduced because you followed this plan. I would then encourage users to track this use week by week and try to increase the amount of carbon dioxide reduction per week, and see how much that you can and see how much they can get to. After a while, hopefully, they would not even need our calculator to be encouraged, and they could just naturally do this, and it would become part of their lifestyle. And if this kind of plan spread, then maybe we could have a societal change in the mindset towards food waste, and in the process, we would have reduced agricultural waste overall. In conclusion, seeing as the world is facing an unprecedented challenge, I believe that we can each do our own part to help solve this issue by following plans such as these to try to each reduce our agricultural waste production little by little. Thank you.